So it's my pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker of the Innovation Summit. Steve Brown is a leading force in the conversation on artificial intelligence. A former executive at Google DeepMind and Intel, he has delivered hundreds of information-packed keynotes and AI innovation workshops across 5 continents. He's a leading thinker on AI, generative AI, autonomous agents, digital transformation, and how AI will shape the future of business, education, and society. He draws upon decades of experience in artificial intelligence and high tech to help companies build winning AI strategies that fuel innovation, boost productivity, and drive growth. During his 25-year career, Steve was Senior Director and in-house futurist at Google DeepMind and Intel's Chief Evangelist and Futurist. He is co-founder of the Providence Chain Network, which provides supply chain transparency and security services to the U.S. Space Force. He advises 2 AI startups and is a Boston consulting group luminary. His clients include Nike, JP Morgan, Samsung, Comcast, Audi, PepsiCo, Disney, and JEDC. He can now add to his list. Steve has been featured on CNN, BBC, Bloomberg, Forbes, and the Wall Street Journal, and his book, The Innovation Ultimatum, How 6 Strategic Technologies Will Reshape Every Business in the 2020s, is a how-to guide on innovation and digital transformation. He holds a bachelor's and master's degree in microelectronic systems engineering from Manchester University and lives in Portland, Oregon. Please join me in welcoming our opening keynote speaker to the main stage, Steve Brown.
Thank you, and good afternoon. It's very nice to be here. I apologize, I have an outrageous British accent, and it's not the only one you're going to hear today. So the British are coming, the British are coming. Right. So it's a great pleasure. I'm going to the purple monster here. Turn that one off. It's a great pleasure to be here in this beautiful and ancient land, to be surrounded by ancestral intelligence and to be talking about artificial intelligence. What I want to talk to you today about is to prepare you for what is coming. Oh, it's my fault. It was my fault all along. Sorry about that. Did you hear what I just said before? Okay, all right, I won't repeat myself then. So, all right, it is a great pleasure to be here. Is the summary. What I want to talk to you about today is what's going to happen next. My job is, I call myself a futurist, right? I've worked in high tech for a long period of my life, and a lot of that time I have spent looking forwards 5 and 10 years to try and understand what is coming next. My job for you in the next hour or so is to prepare you all for what is coming next, because we are about to see an absolute avalanche of change. I think we all sense this. I want to give you some feel for what that change is going to be like so that you can be ready for it when it comes. Now, I don't know how you feel about artificial intelligence. Let's just do a show of hands here. How many people are excited about the potential of AI to improve people's lives? Okay, yeah. How many of you are scared about what AI might bring to the way we live our lives in society? Okay, so yeah, when the question is, are you afraid of AI or excited about it, the answer is yes. That is the right answer. Now today, I am not going to talk about the scary side of AI. I think that's been covered quite well in the press, worries about bias, misinformation at scale, safety issues. I want to acknowledge that all of those are true, and maybe we can address some of that in Q&A. What I want to focus on today is the great potential ahead and what are the changes that are coming. Okay, that's what my job in the lineup today is to try and do that. Because there is a good chance that an AI, a drug developed by AI, co-developed by AI, an AI is going to help save the life of somebody in this room right now. And if not you, then one of your children. AI drug discovery is going to radically change medicine in the next 10 years. And I think you're going to see huge breakthroughs in dealing with human suffering and human medicine breakthroughs in the coming 5 to 10 years. So there are some great things about AI, but I also want to acknowledge there is a dark side too. Okay, so with that, let's talk about what's coming. There are different ways of thinking about this. You can think about it as being, this is, well, just the next way that we communicate with computers. It used to be that if you wanted to communicate with a computer, back in the day, in the glory days when I still had hair, you had to program it with a stack of cards. And there were holes punched in the cards that were representing ones and zeros. You had to talk to it in binary, in the way that it wanted to be communicated with. Thankfully, as computing power got better over time, we've been able to communicate with text and then graphical user interfaces. We now think nothing of pulling our phones out and communicating with gestures and touch. And with artificial intelligence, we can now communicate with computers and explain what we want in human. That's become the language that we can use. So over time, computers have become able to communicate with us in a way that's natural for humans rather than the way that's natural for them. That's one way of framing what's coming. If you want to program a few years from now, if you're not a natural programmer, that won't matter. You will still be able to program using human language. But I think we need to step back further. There's another way to look at this, which is to think about this as an entirely new industrial age. Now, what defines an industrial era? It is a period of time when a general purpose technology, meaning a technology that can be used to do lots of different things, right? Electricity is currently lighting this stage, it's powering my laptop, I have an electric car at home, right? You can use it to do lots of different things. A general purpose technology, the cost of using that heads down towards zero. It doesn't hit zero, but it comes to the point where you don't really think too much about using it. You think too much about turning a light on, for example. What's happening now is that the cost of a very powerful, capable intelligence is going to start heading down rapidly towards zero, making intelligence a commodity. Now, the first few sort of eras of the Industrial Revolution were about making physical capabilities irrelevant. Right? You could use a combine harvester for one person to harvest the wheat in an entire field. It used to take many, many people, and it was about their physical capabilities. Now, we are complementing human intelligence. That has dramatic implications for all of us. Now, as a futurist, one of the things that you do is you look, in order to look forward, you have to look back and take inspiration from the past. So as I look forward on what the future of AI will play out as, I'm looking back at how the internet played out, the last big digital revolution that changed our lives. And it wasn't like in 1999 you could just say, okay, I've got a .com, check, I've done the internet, we're sorted. No, there's a lot more that you had to do than that. You had to figure out e-commerce and fulfillment if you were selling products online. When social media came, suddenly consumers had a voice. You had to figure out how to deal with reviews and feedback and how to navigate and do digital marketing on social media. The cloud came, and suddenly you stopped buying software in boxes and packages on CDs, and it came over the internet. Cloud computing, mobile computing, every wave that came, businesses have had to learn how to adapt and how to use those to get the very best out of them for their business. The same is going to be true of artificial intelligence. It is going to come at us in a succession of waves that you all have to learn how to navigate. So what is artificial intelligence? It used to be sort of rules-based. It was called expert systems. This is in the 90s and early 2000s. You would build an AI by giving it a set of rules on how to solve a problem. Particularly they were used for sort of medical diagnosis and those sorts of things. That pathway didn't really lead to anything very helpful. The big breakthrough is with what's called machine learning, where you're creating a machine that is able to learn and draw inferences and create connections based on being exposed to lots and lots of data. So machine learning has been around for the last 15, 20 years. And that's what's been the foundation for helping us to build the AIs that we have today. And particularly generative AI is what's got everybody excited. It's made me super popular on stages because everybody wants to know, what is this thing and where's it going next? What I want to let you know is there are waves of change coming beyond that. Agentic, spatial, and physical AI, all of which I'm going to talk about today, and then some waves beyond that. Artificial intelligence is going to crash on our shores as waves. My job today is to help you all learn to surf so that you're not surprised by these things. You're thinking about them as you're planning for the future of your businesses. If you're in government and planning, you're thinking about the future of society, making sure that we're ready for what's coming all of our way. So here's the plan. Here's what I'm going to share with you. First of all, I'll give you a sort of what's the status of AI today. Then I'll walk you through what's coming after that, and then what do I suggest as some next steps for you all so that you can get engaged. Let's start with AI today. This is the most technical I'm going to get. There are basically two main flavors of AI. There's traditional AI, machine learning. These are neural networks that are able to process data and sort it into groups. So it's able to classify and cluster it. I'll give you a couple of examples. So when you're using this every day, perhaps without knowing it, when you receive emails, these AIs have been trained on lots of other emails, and they've learned to recognize the patterns that say, this is probably spam. This is probably a good email. And so it's clustering them into those groups. It's classifying them as spam and not spam. When you use Netflix or Amazon or Hulu, any of those applications where you're buying products online or you are watching, consuming content, there's a recommendation engine behind that says, if you like this product, you might like that one. If you enjoyed watching this show, you might like that one. That, again, is classification and clustering. It's making a recommendation. These are the types of shows that you might want to watch. These are the types of shows you're probably not that interested in. This type of AI has been around for 10, 15 years. It's the backbone of many businesses that you use day in and day out. You may be using it in your businesses. These are the types of applications that you might use it for. Recommendations engines and spam filtering, as I mentioned, but it's also what's the backbone of speech recognition and handwriting recognition, some machine vision capabilities. And I'll show you some examples of that in a few minutes. So it's been used to optimize businesses and help machines start to recognize what is happening in the physical world. Now, there's another type of AI, which is this generative AI, which was popularized by ChatGPT, which has got everybody all excited. And they're excited for good reason, because this is a new form of packaged intelligence that enables us to create content. And you can think about it as if it's a translator. You put something in, put one type of data in, get another type of data out. So I put text in, I get an image out. I put an image in, I get text out describing what's in that image. I put text in, I get a video out. I put a question in text, I get an answer out in text too. So it's sort of a translating. It even translates between languages. Put English in, it'll translate it into French, German, whatever I might need. So think of it as a big translator, but it's a way of compressing knowledge. These are very powerful, huge models that capture human knowledge and insight in order to do the magical things that they do. They're able to summarize documents. They're able to answer questions. They're able to create all sorts of open-ended content for us. And the best way to bring that to life for you is to show you a video, which I'll do in a couple of minutes. But broadly, the main categories of AI, I think everything is easy to think about in threes. It certainly works for my little brain. And I found this is useful for my clients too. So if you're thinking about, well, what can I do with all of this great AI stuff that Steve's telling me about, these are the three broad categories. First of all, you can do sensing. What that means is enabling machines to understand something that's happening in the world around them. Secondly, optimization. Taking data, finding patterns in it, and optimizing that data for some purpose. Could be, for example, used in gas uplift of oil. When you're pulling oil out of the ground, you're shoving gas down, natural gas, to force the oil out. And if you get that slightly wrong, then you don't just get oil out, you get gas coming out too, and you have to burn it off and waste it. So there's AI that's optimizing that process, opening and closing valves in the well, so that you're pushing gas down but not wasting any by having it come out. That's an optimization example. And then generation, where you're creating content. So it's almost like input, thinking, and output. So those are the three main uses of AI. Let me show you some examples. First of all, here's an AI that can count sheep. Now, you probably had some lunch, it's ruminating inside. I don't want to show you this for too long because you might get sleepy. But this is a simple example of an AI that can see the world and count things in it. Here's a slightly more sophisticated example of an AI that's not just looking for people in a scene on a video, it's looking for naughty behavior. So here, it's look at Bob, his unsafe lifting posture. He's going to put his back out. That's a workers' comp claim right there. Up the top, see that Gary's not wearing harness again. Unsafe behavior from Timmy, driving like a nutter on his, oh, that's not good. And then clean up on aisle 3. Right, so AIs can now not just detect there's a human here, but also look for what is that behavior. And the reason you want to detect these sorts of events is so you can intervene. And says, hey, Gary, can you put your harness on properly? Can you make sure you lift properly? Because we don't want you getting hurt. So these AIs are getting quite sophisticated in what they can see and understand. Here's an example of an optimization AI. This is a company called Routific. FedEx uses them. In the Central Valley in California, they were rolling 20 for FedEx. So FedEx Ground was running 20 trucks. By optimizing the routing of each of those trucks, they were able to maintain their promises to customers, deliver packages on time, but they only needed 15 trucks. Each of those drivers had to drive a little bit longer, but overall they saved 17% on their costs, gas consumption, and so on, by using these optimization AIs. And as we go through this presentation, if you see a QR code like this, it'll take you to a link so you can get either the application, you can give it a try, or it'll give you more information. So please feel free to grab them and go through. With the generative AI stuff, it's easiest to bring this to life for you with a video. I'm a very visual person. I like videos and images more. So what I've got for you now is a video that shows you all of the different applications of this new sexy generative AI stuff. And I wanted to have a soundtrack for it, so there's some music for you to listen to while you watch this video. Now, anybody here a Coldplay fan? Just by a show of hands. It's okay, you can admit it, it's fine, yeah. Okay, so a few Coldplay fans in here. Any Frank Sinatra fans in here? More Sinatra fans than Coldplay fans. Okay, I'm getting your vibe, this is good. So what you're gonna hear is a Coldplay song sung by Frank Sinatra. But Frank Sinatra died almost 10 years to the day before this song was released. So clearly, AI is involved. So take a look. This is what AI can do today, and enjoy the song Viva La Vida, sung by Frank Sinatra.
I used to rule the world. Seas would rise when I gave the word. Now in the morning I sleep alone. The streets I used to hold. I used to roll the dice, feel the fear in my enemy's eyes, listen as the crowd would sing. Now the old king is dead, long live the king. 1 minute I held the key, next the walls were closed on me, and I discovered my castle stand upon pillars of salt, the pillars of sand. Here Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Beat my mirror, my sword, my shield, my nation, a reason of far and field. Our son once you've gone, there was never an honest word. And that was when I ruled the world. It was the wicked and wild wind blew down the doors to let me in. Shattered window down the sound of drums. People couldn't believe what I'd become. Revolutionaries, they wait for my head on the silver plate. Just a puppet on a lonely string. Well, who would ever want to be king? Here Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword, my shield, punishing the reason of power. For some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name. Never an honest word, but that was when I ruled the world.
So that's what it can do today. And in future, we could see AI generating new materials, buckle up, maybe generating synthetic organisms to go and eat plastic in the ocean, all kinds of interesting applications of AI, some of which get a little bit scary. Another example of AI is generative design. Generative design was pioneered by Autodesk, and it's a way of combining an AI and a human to design things that neither of them could design on their own. I love this example because it's about a collaboration of a machine, an AI, and a human working together to get to a result they couldn't get to otherwise. On the left-hand side here, you see the internal guts of a bulkhead on an A320 airplane. And an A320 it matters in airlines. The Alaska Airlines will tell you this, right? Weight matters on a plane. United Airlines figured out that if every one of their passengers took Ozempic and lost 10 pounds, it would save them $80 million a year in fuel. Weight matters. The reason that you have pretzels, not peanuts, on a plane is because pretzels are lighter than peanuts. It saves them weight. So the weight of a bulkhead matters. That structure you see there is something that a human wouldn't design on their own. It's also something the AI couldn't come up with on its own. What this software does is it takes the initial design of a human designer and then riffs on it, and it comes up with hundreds or thousands of options, runs them through simulation, and says, you know what, if you design it this way, it'll have greater tensile strength, optimized on weight and cost. And that's the design that the human and the AI came up with together. And that's what flies on A320s today. Similar approach was used for this canopy that you see here. This is in a city in Spain, in Seville, and it covers 3 city blocks, and it's optimized for weight, cost, maximizing shade in different times of the year, and so on. The big tech companies believe this is the future, and they are betting on it. Last year, between those 5 companies, they bet $185 billion building AI infrastructure, data centers with lots of chips inside them to be able to process all of these AI workloads. This year, they're going to spend $300 billion or more. That's already committed. You may see more commitments through the year. Now, one of the things that people want to know is, well, how do I get involved with this? How do I use this in my company? One of the ways you want to do this is to unlock your data that's inside your business and make use of it. And the 2 main ways that people are doing that, they're using this technology called retrieval augmented generation. Doesn't matter what the name is, it's called RAG, that's the sort of industry term. What it does is it allows you to take all of your company data and make it accessible to an AI, so that you can start to build chatbots, AIs that can use your data to do something valuable. So the examples you're seeing here at the top is what's called an enterprise intelligence agent, exposing your company data and making it accessible by your employees. So that if they have questions, instead of having to surf an intranet or try and look it up in a manual, that information is at their fingertips. Similarly, to create new experiences for customers, make it easy for them to find information about your products, services, and so on. So that's sort of the state of AI today. Let's spend some time on where things go next. The first thing that's happening is a move towards thinking AIs. Now, you may think they're already thinking. They're pretty amazing what ChatGPT can do. But they're all using what's called System 1 thinking. If I ask you the question, what's 2 plus 2? The answer is 4. Right? You don't have to think about it. That's System 1 thinking. It's just quick retrieval of data. If I ask you how many golf balls would fit inside a Toyota Camry, now you have to think about that. How big's a golf ball? Roughly how big's a Camry? How would the seats take up some space? Right, that is System 2 thinking. What AIs are gaining now is this System 2 thinking, the ability to think on, to figure out what's the right way to try and solve this problem, what are the different methods I could use to reason their way through it. And this is making them more and more intelligent over time. So it used to be that AIs, and this is the OpenAI products, Gemini fits in here somewhere else from Google, but they've got smarter over time. As the models get more information, they get stuffed with more intelligence over time. But now we're complementing that by adding in the ability to reason. So they're getting smarter, building on the information that they have, but then reasoning around it. So over time, these are going to continue to get smarter by using reasoning capability. Now, why am I telling you all of this? The reason I'm telling you is that reasoning, the ability to break down a complex task, split it into subtasks, and then execute on each of those tasks, is a fundamental requirement to build agents. And agents, talking to people in the AI industry, 2025 is the year of agents. You can expect a lot of innovation in this area. This takes us into the world of agentic AI. AI agents, autonomous pieces of software that can do tasks on your behalf. So you can offload tasks to them, or they can work alongside you to elevate your capabilities. I believe we're moving into a world of 1 trillion AI agents. Machines that will work alongside us that have the ability to reason, to be able to plan, to be able to store memory so they learn about you and how to work better with you over time, and to execute on complex tasks by using tools, choosing and using tools to execute them. Perhaps working through a browser to book you a holiday online, or helping to do research so that you can learn more about your competition and what they're up to in the marketplace. A world of 1 trillion agents working alongside us. And these agents are going to have the ability to perceive the world, so use a computer, look at a browser, see what's happening on the screen, figure out what buttons to press, act on plans, and put it all together and deliver on complex tasks for you. Now, how is this going to feel? We are on the edge of working alongside human and digital workers. And you should think about these as sort of PhD level, naive, remote interns that are going to make mistakes and need your oversight. But they're going to be helpful to you. They'll be able to handle quite complex tasks. They'll be able to use a browser and do deep research on your behalf. And eventually, I don't think it'll be too long until they look like that. They're not just a text that you talk to. They will feel almost like another person that you talk to over Zoom. So what does this mean? It means your next coworker might be a machine. In fact, you're probably going to have many machines working alongside you. Jensen Huang, who is the CEO of NVIDIA, was asked, well, what's your plan to grow the company in terms of employees? His response was simply, he said, I have 32,000 employees today. I plan to grow to about 50,000 employees, but supported by 100 million agents, helping them to do more. That's the way you'll be needing to think about your businesses in the coming year or two. I think there are 3 main categories of agents. One is agents that offload. So the tasks that you really don't want to do. Think about the parts of your job that you find boring. Those are the things that you can offload to an agent. The agents that will be really interesting are the ones that won't just take tasks off our hands. They'll be the ones that elevate our performance. So think about that designer who was designing the A320 bulkhead. By partnering with an AI, the performance of that designer went up, and they enjoy their work more. Or extending someone's capabilities. A swarm of AI-controlled drones for firefighters that goes on site, uses infrared cameras to help the firefighters understand where the hotspots are in the structure before they run into the building. Extending their senses, for example. And you're going to see lots of different types of these agents showing up in our lives, including by combining with augmented reality glasses, the ability to get guidance on how to perform a task we've not been able to do before. So all sorts of really exciting new types of agents are coming all of our way. And you're going to see agents that complement teaching efforts as personal tutors, that complement the efforts of the medical industry with a personal doctor in your pocket, which for some people who don't have access to medical interventions, particularly overseas, are going to be life-saving. So all different types of agents that will be working alongside us and elevating our performance. Now, notice I say performance, not productivity. Productivity is one vector of performance, but that will also help us improve our creativity, improve our intuition, elevate our decision-making capabilities, and so on. If you're in marketing communications, what you need to know is that not very many years from now, most web traffic will not be human beings coming to your website. It will be agents visiting on a customer's behalf to get information about you that you'll provide. So you need to start thinking about how do I organize information online so that it's accessible to humans and also optimized for agents to get. It also means that everyone is going to become a manager. Even if you don't manage people today, you will manage agents, perhaps 10 or 20 or 50 agents that will be little interns that you can have doing tasks for you. What this means is we're moving into a new era of work where humans and machines work very closely together. Let me give you an example of what I mean. I think the job of every company on the planet is to now do process orchestration, to look at every business process they have and break it down into subtasks like you see here. And then ask the question, which of these tasks is best still done by a human, and which of them is best done by an AI, a robot, or an AI and a human working really closely together? Let me give you a quick example of what I mean. Think about a salesperson, perhaps a salesperson who has hundreds of customers they service and they have 100 different products they're trying to sell. The first thing they have to do every day is, who should I call today? AIs are great for that. They remember who you called and when. They can watch the marketplace and say, well, something's happening with that customer. I saw it online. You should probably give them a call right now. So the AI determines the call list for the day. It also sources all the relevant information of the previous calls that you had, what's happening with that customer in the marketplace, summarizes it all. So the salesperson is fully informed and ready to go. Then the salesperson does the thing that humans do best. They call, hey, Bob, how are you? How's the knee? Build that human rapport, build that connection, and then go into sales mode. The AI then listens in, and its job is one thing: listen for objections. If it hears an objection, it's going to then try and help the salesperson to pivot. What is an argument you could make? What's a different product you might sell? The salesperson watches that information, they pivot as needed, hopefully close the sale. Great talking to you, Bob. Thanks for the business. Hope the knee gets better. And then the AI does what salespeople hate, which is filling in the CRM, the customer relationship management database, on how the call went, all the things, and doing follow-up emails. AI can handle all of that. All the salesperson needs to do is look at it and say, yep, that looks right, send. Now, does that sound fanciful as an example? That's available today. So the reason you do this is because each of these has different strengths and weaknesses. Look at that, top of the list on the left there, critical thinking. Our uniquely human skills, there are still many uniquely human skills. If you're wondering, what do I do personally? What do I tell my kids to help them remain robot-proof? Double down on the skills on the left. Double down on your own humanity. That's what will keep you relevant in the workplace. But also, learn how to work with the others. That's what you'll hear about in the next keynote after the break. There's early evidence that this is incredibly powerful. HBR, Harvard Business Review, had a study of a large software company. They had customer support people, and they had huge turnover. It's not fun doing customer support online. They paired the customer support people with an AI. The AI would listen into the call. It had access to all of the previous ticket data for all the previous customer support calls. So it was able to surface information on how you might solve that person's problem very rapidly and help the person to close down the call quickly. The customer was happier, the customer support person was happier. It was a win-win all the way around. What they found that was interesting is, you look at this is fancy, isn't it? Productivity went up 15%, but for the more junior employees, where they had a huge turnover problem, productivity actually went up 35% by pairing them with an AI. Here's another example of an AI working alongside a human. How many of you hire people? Anybody here hire people? Okay, a few. This is a great company. There's an AI called Hire Logic. It's an AI that you can either invite to your Zoom call where you're hiring somebody, or you have it on your phone when you meet somebody face-to-face. Just put it down on the table. It allows you to focus on the human-to-human connection with the person you might hire. And it listens in, it transcribes it, so you don't have to write any notes. It'll summarize that transcription for you. But interestingly, you tell it ahead of time, what are the skills I'm hoping to see demonstrated? The AI will give you a running tally on, are you seeing those skills demonstrated by the candidate? It even gives you feedback after the interview to say, these were the things that you said you wanted to probe with an employee, a potential employee, and you didn't ask them, so do better next time. So really interesting example of the types of things that AI can do. Let's talk about spatial AI. I'm running a little long here, so let's rapidly go through this one. This is an AI that has the ability to see and understand the world around it. You need it when you're trying to build a self-driving car, when you're building these next-generation robots, which I'll show you in a minute, and a next generation of assistants that can see the world and understand it. Again, the best way to show it to you, to bring this to life for you, is to show you what these assistants can do. This is a project running at Google. When I worked at Google DeepMind, this is one of the things that I was helping with the early planning stages of. It's a spatially aware AI assistant. Check this out.
Okay, let's do some tests. Tell me when you see something that makes sound.
I see a speaker, which makes sound.
What is that part of the speaker called?
That is the tweeter. It produces high-frequency sounds.
Give me a creative alliteration about these.
Creative crayons color cheerfully. They certainly craft colorful creations.
What does that part of the code do?
This code defines encryption and decryption functions. It seems to use AES-CBC encryption to encode and decode data based on a key and an initialization vector, IV.
That's right. What neighborhood do you think I'm in?
This appears to be the King's Cross area of London. It is known for its railway station and transportation connections.
Do you remember where you saw my glasses?
Yes, I do. Your glasses were on the desk near a red apple.
What can I add here to make this system faster?
Adding a cache between the server and database could improve speed.
What does this remind you of?
Schrodinger's cat.
All right, give me a band name for this duo.
Golden Stripes.
Nice. Thanks, Gemini.
So that technology is in early stages. It's in beta. It's in testing with a few select testers. But that's going to come. That sort of technology is going to come to all of our phones in the next year or so. So that's an idea of what spatial intelligence looks like. It's about understanding objects, their relationships to each other, understanding the physical world. So AI is going to get a lot more understanding of what is happening in a physical space. And that's vital as sort of a foundation for making AI physical, helping AI to be embodied inside. I'm going to show you some pretty cool robots in a minute, but inside a robot that can actually work alongside us safely to do work. It used to be for many years, if your car was built by a robot, which most of your cars will have been, at least in part, those robots have to live inside cages because they were big, hefty, mechanical things that, very powerful, couldn't see the world, couldn't see humans, and if the two came together, it didn't end well for the human. So they were trapped inside cages. Now these robots have come an awful long way. And we're starting to see a different class of robot that mirror what we've been seeing in our science fiction shows for decades. We've been fascinated by this stuff as a people, right? Thinking about what if we could make mechanical humans? What if we had robots or androids, those androids may even look like us? What would that mean for the future of humanity? So, this is where we're at today. I'm going to show you a short montage of the types of machines, the types of robots that are already out being tested today in manufacturing plants, logistics facilities, and so on. This is not special effects. These are real robots doing real robot things. That's what they can do today. Imagine what it'll be like a year from now or 2 years from now. That creepy one at the end that's contortion, it just drives me nuts every time I see it. Makes me feel a little ill inside. But these are amazing robots. And they're able to do pretty impressive things. Now, why has this suddenly all happened? For a long time, there was no progress with robots whatsoever. And now we have these incredible robots. It's in part because all of these technologies came together at the same time. So batteries that are very efficient, they're getting more efficient by about 20% every 2 years. Battery efficiency grows. Electric motors that are powerful, have lots of torque, but are easy to control, fine grain control, and that are lower cost. Lightweight materials for the structure of the robot. And then the biggest ones are breakthroughs in sensors, so ability to understand 3D space around it, and stereoscopic machine vision. And then finally, using generative AI to be able to reason what someone should do in a scene, what a robot should do, and to be able to communicate with humans and get instructions in standard human language. It used to be that if you wanted to program a robot, you would tell it, move arm forward, move down, grasp, lift, back. You do it step by step, very laborious process. Now, robots are able to observe a human perform a task a few times, sort of watch you do it, and then they will practice a few times themselves. When I say a few times, I mean 4 hours, but they'll practice until they get it right. And then once one robot has learned how to do a task, they all have learned how to do a task. So you can start to think about, how do I teach a robot to do something, and then maybe make some money out of the fact that I've taught it to do this thing. So we have this huge breakthrough where you saw those robots, which are really quite capable. They still haven't quite figured out the walking. They all look like they need to go to the bathroom, you know what I mean? There's sort of that little rush. They're not very good at walking yet, but that's coming. And I've seen some early demos of some of the latest robots that have that down. They walk quite naturally again. Now, why do we need robots? As of the most recent data from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are 8.1 million job openings in the United States. 8.1 million jobs. We are about to enter a crisis of labor shortage. Just a demographic certainty. There are not enough babies being born. There are not enough people. We have an aging population in the United States. It's also true in China. It's very acute in Japan and in Western Europe. There were just not enough people to do the jobs, particularly not enough people to take care of people as they get older. And the ratio between people of working age and people who are over the age of 65 is changing very quickly. So we're going to have labor shortages just demographically for the coming decade or two. So how do you deal with that? The only ways you can deal with that is two ways. One, automation. The other one, immigration. Immigration is kind of off the table right now. So automation is going to be needed if we're going to close these gaps. If businesses are going to be able to do all the things they want to do and grow in the ways they want to grow, access to labor is going to be vital. Physical labor. So we're going to need robots. We're going to need it in the corporate world to get jobs done, to work alongside humans. We're going to need it in households. How many of you would like a robot to pour you a cold beer or do the ironing or shake your martini when you come in through the door after a hard day? I think there are 2.3 billion households, consumer households on the planet. That's a huge market for these companies. And then eventually, this is way out in the future, we're going to be starting to mine off-world resources, trying to get out there and mine things from asteroids. You don't want to send a bag of flesh out there that needs air and water and food when you can just send robots. So I think they're going to be a big thing there. And a lot of work is dull, dirty, and dangerous. Repetitive jobs which are dirty and put people in physical harm, in the way of physical harm. So robots are going to free us from that repetitive, boring, and dangerous robotic work. There are a lot of leading companies in this space. I'm watching 20 or so humanoid robotics companies. These are the leaders. I think the biggest one is Figure, closely followed by 1X. 1X is a Norwegian company. They are much more focused on home. So they have some interesting demos of their latest robot called Neo Gamma, which wears a very cool-looking onesie, knitted onesie. It looks like it's ready to go fencing or something. Anyway, Agility Robotics is based in Oregon. They spun out of Oregon State University. So there's a few leaders in this space, and there's a bunch of also-rans. Many of these companies are from China. China is investing a lot in humanoid robotics research. So these are the leaders, I think. Agility Robotics has a robot called Digit. Digit is on trial and has been for a couple of years now in Amazon warehouses. So they're working to move packages around and do kind of repetitive, boring jobs. They're currently not able to be in the same space as humans because they're not safety certified. We don't want mishaps, but that's coming soon. The one you saw with the weird contortion that can turn its legs around and that's from Boston Dynamics. They had a robot called Atlas before. This is electronic Atlas. Previously, the robot you saw throwing a bag up on a construction site, that was the original Atlas, and it was hydraulic. And what happened was, when you're trying to do movements with hydraulic fluid, sometimes the hose would come off, and it would spray hydraulic fluid in an arc through the air at very high pressure, which is quite dangerous to be around. That hydraulic fluid, by the way, is red, so it looked like it was exploding in a bath of blood. It was quite revolting. So they've gone all electric now, much cleaner and much safer. Figure 2, I'm going to show you more of in a minute. That's in my book, that is the leader in the space. They have the most advanced robotics program. Another one I think has a really good chance is a Canadian company called Sanctuary. They're down in Vancouver, BC. And they have a robot called Phoenix. The one you saw doing the soldering, picking berries off, that was Phoenix. Very good fine-grain motor control. And then, Elon may surprise us. Most of the demos of Optimus, the Tesla robot, have been smoke and mirrors so far. So maybe. I know there's a lot of money being poured into that, but right now they are behind. So let's focus on Figure. Figure has 3 different robots. They're kind of doing a crawl, walk, run. The shiny one that you saw with the Keurig coffee machine, that was their Figure 1. Figure, that was sort of their experimental, their starting point. Figure 2 is their feature-complete robot. But they cost about $250,000 each just to make them, let alone sales price. So Figure 3, they're planning to cost reduce that. It'll be all the same features, but cost reduced, and they're aiming for a $30,000 end price. So about the price of a car for a worker that will work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and they work for electrons, not dollars. That's equivalent of like a $300 a month lease price. For someone to do all your laundry and load the dishwasher and go on errands for you, maybe that's interesting. So Figure 2, it can carry 20 kilos. So in American money, that's 32 pounds. I am an American citizen, so I can say that. It has about a 5-hour runtime, and it walks at a walking speed of 2.7 miles an hour. Now, why is that important? So you can outrun it. That's why it's important. Okay? Now, these things, as I said before, it used to be you had programmed by lift, up, down. Now it learns by example. So it just watches a few times, a few examples, and then figures out how to do a task on its own. And you can talk to it and tell it what to do. It will also speak back to you and share its thinking and its reasoning on why it's making the choices that it's making, why it's doing what it's doing. Best way to bring this to life is, again, to show you a short video. So this is an example. This is not Figure 2. This is Figure 1. And it's interacting with a human, and you'll see what happens.
Hey, Figure 1, what do you see right now?
I see a red apple on a plate in the center of the table, a drying rack with cups and a plate, and you standing nearby with your hand on the table.
Great, can I have something to eat?
Sure thing. So I gave you the apple because it's the only edible item I could provide you with from the table.
Based on the scene right now, where do you think the dishes in front of you go next?
The dishes on the table, like that plate and cup, are likely to go into the drying rack next.
Great, can you put them there?
Of course.
That video is about 6 months old. So they've progressed since then. There's a video that came out this week that I didn't have a chance to put into this presentation because I need to tighten it for time and do some editing on it. But it shows 2 robots working side by side unloading groceries and working together, handing groceries off to each other to put them into the fridge and into the cupboards in a kitchen. It's very impressive stuff. There's about 8 billion of us on planet Earth. There are predictions that by 2040, we could share the planet with up to 10 billion humanoid robots. That's more than one each. What are you going to do with yours? No, not that. You can't do that. But you get the idea, right? You could have these do whatever you would like. They're going to be autonomous. They will follow your commands. They will help you with physical tasks. They have their own agency. They have great dexterity. And you can communicate with them in natural human language. I think it's more likely to be around 1 billion, not 10 billion, but I'm sharing what some of the bigger predictions are. So between 1 and 10 billion of these robots by 2040. That's just 15 years from now. So let me wrap this up with where do we go beyond that? At the moment, these AIs that are powering these next generation agents and that will be inside these robots, pretty impressive in terms of the level of intelligence, but they're still not quite there yet. The quest is still on by all of the major AI labs to bring us to human-level intelligence, so-called artificial general intelligence. The pathway is pretty clear on that one. We'll move from chatbots that can do sort of turn-by-turn conversations with us, through now we have multimodal and spatial AIs that can understand 3D space, that can understand and have some level of vision and can see and hear and understand the world and even touch the world in some cases. Reasoning capabilities are maturing and will continue to get better over the next year or two. And that will fuel a new class of autonomous agents that we spend time with, that help us to achieve tasks, elevate our performance, and give us new capabilities we didn't have before. All of this is on the path towards artificial general intelligence. Now, when might that come? The people I speak to, the range that I get and when it's going to come is somewhere from next year to never, sort of in between that range somewhere. But the smart money is on around 2027, 2028. That's 2 or 3 years from now, when you'll have human-level intelligence at relatively low cost, available on demand. Think about what that will do to your business in the future, what that unlocks for you, and how you'll have to change to incorporate that into what you do. There's this great chart from Wait But Why that was published in 2015 that really resonated with me at the time, and particularly resonates now, I think, which is if you feel like you're this little person at the bottom of a chart of massive change right ahead of you, you're probably paying attention. That's the way it should feel, because we're about to see enormous change coming all of our way. So what do you do about it? There is an express train of change coming all of our way, and there's nothing we can do about it. Peter Diamandis, who's a speaker like me, he says there are going to be 2 types of companies at the end of the decade: those that are fully utilizing AI and those that are out of business. I don't think it's quite as stark as that, but you get the idea. You need to figure out how to get on the AI train, use it to elevate the capabilities of your business, to support your employees, to create new products, new services, new customer experiences, so that you remain relevant and you continue to be competitive in the marketplace. So how do you move forward? You're going to hear more about this from Kate, who'll be speaking after the break. But these were 2 headlines that really resonated with me over the last couple of years. The first one says, AI isn't going to replace your job, but someone using AI will. It's sort of an adage in the marketplace, and I think it's accurate. What this means is you can't rest on the sidelines. You need to start, if you're not doing so already, be curious about AI. Stop resisting it and embrace it. Learn how to use it, how to get the most out of it. Because talking to AI might be the most important skill of this decade. The same way that you have figured out how to get the best results out of your coworkers, how you communicate with them, how you encourage them, how you share information with them. You're going to have to learn to do the same thing with your machine coworkers, meaning learning what's the right question to ask, what's the right way to give them instructions so that they can be the most productive on your behalf. So my encouragement to you is be curious and make time to learn about this stuff. We all live busy lives, but if you can set aside maybe 1 hour a week to spend time either playing with an AI tool, learning how to use it, or just learning about what's the latest in AI, it is going to set you up for longer-term success. So please, make time to boost your AI literacy. And embrace this age. It's coming. Make the most of it. Learn to surf these waves as they come into shore. That means there's going to be change coming. Build a change-ready culture inside your organization. Companies that are able to experiment, try new things, are going to be more successful than those who are just not in that mood. The enemy is going to be, well, that's not the way we do things around here. Secondly, the rocket fuel for tomorrow's AIs is today's data. Think about what data you have and how you can connect that to AIs to unlock value inside that data. And then don't just think about, well, how could I use AI to save money? Could I get rid of some workers and automate their jobs away? Maybe some of them. But early studies are showing that the companies who don't do that, they instead focus on how do I take AI to elevate the performance of my employees so that they enjoy their jobs better and so that they have much greater output. They're the ones that are going to win in the marketplace. So figure out what your talent strategy is, how you're going to have a joint human and machine talent strategy, and pair them to get the best results from both. And then finally, figure out how do you change your customer experience. Make it easier to do business with you. Create new products and services and experiences for your customers using AI. And AI is not the IT department's responsibility. They can help facilitate. This transformation is so big, it means everybody in your organization needs to be on board and excited about what's coming. That means as leaders in organizations, you need to be inspiring others on how to do this. So to wrap this up, you're going to see waves of change. I hopefully gave you some insight into what is coming your way, all of our way, so that you can be prepared to surf them when they come. This, I think, is going to be the year of agents. I'm not the only person in the industry saying this. This is just sort of a general view. Agents are going to start transforming business starting this year. And you're not going to be able to build all these AI capabilities yourself. There may be some AI that you build that's specific to what you do in your businesses, but it's going to be about picking the right partners who you can build a long-term relationship with to help you bring AI capabilities into your world. So my closing question for you is, what are you going to do? How will you elevate your business and your life using AI? If I can be helpful to you, I do a free weekly newsletter. I don't send anything else except that. It's written by me. It's not written by an AI. I write it myself. There'll be one coming out tomorrow. It comes out every Thursday. Please sign up. You're welcome to share it with your friends who you think might be interested and might find it valuable too. It's designed and written for business people to understand and educate themselves over time on what's happening in the AI space. So it's not technical at all. The other thing I'll offer you is, if you want to try some of these tools out, I created this resource called Artificial Wisdom, and it's you go to this site. It's free. I think you just have to give your email address, and then it, which I never use. But you go in, and it links you all of these different tools for you to try for image generation, for bookkeeping, all sorts of AI tools for you to try out. So I hope this will be useful for you. I hope this was a useful glimpse into what is coming in the future. The main thing I want you to remember is AI is coming, but the future is still very human. Thanks for your time and attention. Now, I know we have a few more minutes before the break. We have a microphone lined up here. So if you have a question, please come to the microphone and ask your question. And Charlotte, you have a question to start us off? Oh, you have a roaming microphone as well. Okay, so we're going to give Charlotte a workout. So if you don't want to come up to the microphone here, just raise your hand. Charlotte will come sprinting over to you, and she'll put a microphone in front of you. So if you have a question, please raise your hand.
Okay, who wants the mic?
Or come to the microphone here. Yes, we have a hand in the front. Microphone's coming your way. It looks like a delightful pea green color. Okay.
Kawasaki green.
Okay. Sir, your question.
So I'm one of the fellow Brits in the audience. So thank you.
We're everywhere, yeah.
We are everywhere. We are coming. We're actually already here. In Alaska, we have a very varied environment, a very varied temperature range. If you were here in the interior of Alaska where I live, it can easily be 40, 50 below. Ooh. And that's before any wind chill or anything. How are these systems being tested to be able to operate outside your front door, so they don't walk outside and basically become a beautiful doorstop and not an actual operational product?
A robot-sicle, yeah.
Correct.
I think they're not.
I'm Peter Webley, University of Alaska Fairbanks.
Nice to meet you, Peter. Thank you. It's a good question. I think the obvious answer is they're not. I don't think they're at that stage yet. Weatherized robots are probably, a next level thing. They're just trying to figure out how to make them work inside a factory at this point. Then it'll be how do you make it safe inside a home. Then it'll be how do you go outside the home and go on errands for you and get the paper. People often ask me, by the way, what's going to be the next ChatGPT moment, right? The moment where you go, wow, that's amazing. I think it'll be when you see one of these robots walking down the street on an errand for somebody. That'll be when you're like, oh my God, I'm in the future. It's here. So I don't think they're at that stage yet, but ultimately it will come. But I think it's probably a ways off.
My idea was this is where Alaska could become a place to test, because we have the environment to put things in a controlled setup.
Or build an industry around taking these robots and weatherizing them and making them work in those sorts of environments. Yeah, it's a great idea. This gentleman here, and then there's one over there next. And feel free to come to the microphone. Get some exercise. I know these chairs aren't super comfy. Sir.
When was that, excuse me, when was that moment for you where this whole thing was just...
When was my big moment? No one's ever asked me that before. I mean, when I was at Google DeepMind when ChatGPT came out. So I had already been playing with the stuff that Google had internally. And when I was playing with some of their leading edge generative models and large language models, I was pretty blown away by what I could see. So when ChatGPT came, I was like, okay, it's out. But that was probably my big moment was, I don't know, 6 months before, or a year before ChatGPT, when I got to see it in the labs at Google. Because they have all this stuff. They just decided, they were trying to keep it inside and perfect it before they put it out there. OpenAI's view was different, which is, well, it's not finished yet, but let's get it out there for people to try, and we'll learn from them, and we'll kind of make it better together. So that was probably my big moment.
Yeah, is that about 2020, 2021?
Yeah. Sir.
Thank you for being here. You know your trade. How can we help AI help us think at a planetary level so that we don't run off the edge of the cliff with global climate change or war?
That's a big question, and an important one to ask. I think we're already seeing that AI is being deployed to help scientists think through problems and come up with hypotheses. Last week, Google released an AI platform called Co-Scientist. And it's able to generate and work alongside a scientist and help them come up with hypotheses and help them think through problems. So I think we're not going to solve climate change on our own. We're going to need AI's help to think through it, come up with novel approaches, perhaps generate new materials, perhaps get breakthroughs in new ways to create energy, maybe some fusion breakthroughs, and AI is going to be central to that. On the other side, you said, how do we get it to stop wars? I'm nervous that it will make things worse. Not because AI is malign in any way, but because AI is an amplifier. It's an amplifier of human thought and capability. It's going to amplify those scientists and help them be more creative and have breakthroughs more quickly. We're already seeing that with work in the protein folding space. But it also can be used by bad people to amplify their efforts with disinformation and misinformation. So my biggest worry is not that AI turns against us, it is that AI makes us turn against each other. And that's my biggest fear for AI. So we all need to educate ourselves to be more immune to misinformation and disinformation. Consider the sources and apply your critical thinking. It comes back to critical thinking skills again. That is what's going to get us out of getting into wars, is understanding each other, communicating with each other, and being kind to each other. Thank you.
All right. Hello. Thank you. My name is Gabriel Lau. I also work with Peter at Center Ice, but also have a small company I'm building. I'll be presenting the pitch competition. But my question is around data. How do we move forward, or your perspective on data ownership and kind of data sovereignty? As you know, Alaska and in particular the indigenous communities had a lot of that extractive kind of, we're taking information from you. And in this age of more data gathering, I mean, how can we as humanity, and especially those populations that are more affected by that, how can we combat and take actions to promote data ownership and compensation for that? Thank you.
Yeah, good question. So you heard in the introduction that I co-founded a company called the Provenance Chain Network. One of the premises of that, I mean, it's to help supply chains share information with each other in an open way, but it also manages data property ownership rights, because we recognized 6 years ago when we founded the company that that was going to be a central issue in the future. So I think we're going to need to use technology to help us guard our data and make sure that we only make it available to the people that need it to provide us a service in return. And that's what the Provenance Chain Network was all about. So I think it's going to require some tools and some infrastructure and some thinking to make sure that we still maintain ownership over our own data and we get fed back for it. I know we're at time, so I can probably take one more quick question, and then I'm around this afternoon, tonight, and tomorrow morning. So if you have questions that you didn't get to ask, or it occurs to you in the break afterwards, or you wake up this morning with a burning tomorrow morning with a burning question, you know where to find me. Just look for the bald Englishman. So one more question.
You've kind of talked about the private use of AI, but what role does the government have in regulating how AI is used and preventing that kind of abuse and exploitation?
Ooh, okay. I said a quick question. That was a quick question, I'll give you that, but it's probably a very long answer. The government probably should play a role to help us stay safe. AI is a very powerful technology, the same way that nuclear energy was a very powerful technology. You can, light a city with a nuclear power station, or you can level it with a nuclear bomb. AI is kind of the same, and we want to make sure that AI is safe for us all to use. And I think we probably also want to make sure that it is accessible to people. Beyond that, initially, AI is going to complement human effort. As AI gets better and better, as those robots get better and better, as those agents get better and better, we will automate away most work. Not all work, I think there will still be work. Government's role then is going to be needing to be to reimagine society. Capitalism is going to ultimately eat itself. The cost of goods will come plummeting down because the cost of labor will come down. And our economy will look completely different than it does today. Now, I don't know whether this is 20 years from now, 25 years from now, 10 years from now. I don't know. And nobody does if they tell you they do. But government's role is going to be to start thinking about that now and planning for a time when we don't need to work anymore, and helping us all figure out what is ultimately the purpose of our lives. Because it won't be, 25 years from now, let's say, it won't be to go and grind away at work and do a job that you don't enjoy very much. So the question I will leave you with today is, who are you? What makes you happy? And what is the purpose of you? Because fundamentally, it's not the job that you do today. Thanks for the question. Enjoy the break.